Welcome to the quarterfinals, NUIC football fanatics. We're here to bring you our quarterfinal matchups and predictions. We have three teams this week from the NUIC that are making it into the quarterfinals. Two of them will be squaring off with each other, while the other one takes on another foe. And also down south, there are three teams in the Central Illinois Conference that have also made it, as we talked about last week, with three teams from the WIVC, three from the CIC, while the three from the CIC prevailed, and one from the WIVC. So that's we'll get into that a little bit later. But what do you think chances are of an NUIC team making it all the way to state, Shane?
Just short of 100%. Aquin's going to have their hands full with their matchup, but my odds-on favorite is the winner of Forreston and Lena Winslow being the North rep, so realistically I'm not too worried about the Marquette-Aquin matchup as far as being our representative at state, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you play the games. Anything can happen. We watched it last year. But, you know, like Shane stated, I have an NUIC team. Actually, it was Forreston that I had picked to go to state in the North bracket to face Tuscola back when we did our playoff predictions. Both games are going to be tough matchups, and we'll get to that breakdown now. Our first matchup from this quarterfinal round is going to take us to Freeport, where the Aquin Bulldogs are playing host to Ottawa Marquette. Marquette comes in with an 11-0 record after they beat Dakota last week 26-20, and Aquin comes in with a 10-1 record after they beat Leroy 28-14. On the year, Ottawa Marquette's averaging 46 points per game while giving up 7 points per game, and Aquin is averaging 37 points per game while giving up 18 points per game. Shane, what are your thoughts on this matchup here?
Well, we were talking a little bit whether or not the key is going to be whether Aquin can move the ball on Marquette. Marquette's going to have a size advantage up front. Marquette's had a size advantage against Dakota, but we were talking off camera a little bit, and Marquette doesn't really fire off the ball. That might be an area that Aquin can exploit with a smaller, more athletic line, just getting off the ball. Also, Aquin is going to have to do some passing, which is nothing we aren't accustomed to seeing anyways. Just make sure that you're more fluent with the pass game. Every round you advance, you want to make sure you're sharp on what you're doing, because theoretically the competition will get tougher. And for Marquette, you know, kind of keep with what's gotten you here to this point. Like you said, you know, every game matchup's different. What they had success against Dakota might not be what they'll have success with against Aquin, and vice versa. What Aquin might have had success against Leroy might not work against Marquette. I think it's an interesting matchup, and we'll see what happens.
I would agree. It is an interesting matchup. You nailed some things that I had wrote down as far as Aquin's keys to the game, in which their number one key to the game defensively is they need to stop the run. Marquette chewed up a lot of time, 33 minutes worth, and quite a bit of yardage against Dakota last week in their round 2 win. Aquin's going to have to be able to get Marquette off the field, an area that Dakota struggled. Dakota kept getting beat on third downs. Aquin can't allow that to happen. An area that Marquette liked to key on was their tight end out pass to the flats, and then their backside counter. As long as Aquin stays home defensively and can bring players up on the edge to shut down that run, they should be able to compete with them. Another thing that they're going to have to do as well is to keep that outside contained, because when they run that backside counter is coming off the tackle. And yes, I mean, you can see in the pictures that we took how big them holes were, which if you shut them gaps down, then there's nothing there. So really, Aquin needs to stay home defensively, play assignment football, attack the run. Ottawa Marquette shows their hand when they're going to pass. It's very easy to read when they're going to pass. Aquin needs to read it and figure it out. The other thing that they're going to have to do, they cannot get beat deep defensively. What Marquette is going to do is they're going to run with their fullback up the middle, that backside counter. They'll do a little sweep or a jet sweep. Then they're going to put a little play action pass into the flats, and then all of a sudden, boom, they go over top. Don't lull yourself asleep. Stay awake. Pay attention to the receivers. On your corners have to pay attention to the receivers. Guard the man. Look for the ball when the receiver looks for the ball. Otherwise, they're going to burn you. Marquette has good speed in their skilled positions. Their stud halfback is out for the year. Tore an ACL, unfortunately. But the backup is his cousin, who isn't as big, not as fast, but still pretty darn good with the ball and getting into outside yardage.
Right, and just to touch on the passing as far as Aquin's defense, you can live with that 7-8 yard pass. If they go down and score 7-8 yard passes at a time, you can live with that. You can't live with the home run ball. Fast scores, next thing you know, you're in a shootout. And I don't think that bodes well for Aquin. I think Aquin needs to slow things down a little bit. This is a Marquette team that you said can put up a lot of points. Granted, the competition hasn't been the same, although some people would say that Aquin's competition hasn't really been the same either. So, I think Aquin needs to slow things down, keep the game close. From an outsider's perspective, you can see why Marquette would be favored in this matchup. But for us, we also see the opportunities that Aquin has in this game.
Yes, and getting back to the offensive side of the ball, Aquin's going to have to be able to win the line. Marquette, in my opinion, based off what I've seen, they're kind of slow off the line, off the snap of the ball. They're a little bit slow, and I think a quick team, like Aquin is, can win that battle. They don't necessarily need to win the line push, but they need to win the battle getting off of the line and sustain a block. If they do that, they may be able to get some runs in there. And for Aquin to have success, they're going to have to establish a run game. Last week against Leroy, they had a couple big runs by Luda King, one that really sticks out in my mind. But really, that was about it. Outside of that, Leroy did a good job of shutting down their run game. Same problems they had against Stockton when they played Stockton in the regular season. So, not saying that Aquin cannot run the ball, but they do need to fire off the ball and establish that run game. As soon as they can get that run game established, that's going to open up their passing game. I do see their passing game as the way to win this game. Jonah Deemer, just like last week, is going to have another big week this week in order for Aquin to come out on top. They're going to need to be able to hit them in different directions, whether it be the posts or the slants across the middle or the out routes to the sidelines. They need to be able to be there. I could see them having some success on their little screen pass, bubble pass type play that they like to run as well, provided that they sell the run game on it before they get that back out there into the open. I could really see this game going either way. I think I'm going to stick to my pick that I had in my playoff preview prediction, and that was Marquette.
Yeah, and I don't really know. Like you said, my bracket has Marquette in the semifinals, but I'm going to flip a coin. Whoever gets on rain check. Aquin will be rain check.
Okay, I'm watching.
Rain check. So going with the Bulldogs.
All right. And Conley Field is a tough place to play at.
Right.
And that's another reason why Aquin will have somewhat of an advantage here. It's not going to change my pick. I'm still sticking with Marquette. I do want to see Aquin win, though, for the sake of the NUIC. I do want to see Aquin win. And I hope Aquin comes ready to play they keep doing that week in, week out now. Prove me wrong yet again, Bulldogs. Go get them. All right, this takes us to our second game in the quarterfinals, and that's going to be in Lena, where the Lena Winslow Panthers will host Forreston. Forreston comes to this game with the number 2 seed, a perfect 11-0 record on the season after they beat Stark County last week 43-14, while Lena Winslow comes in as the number 6 seed with a 9-2 record after they beat Salt Fork 35-21. Here again, we have a matchup of 2 state-ranked teams. Forreston, the number 1 ranked team in state, number 2 seed. Lena Winslow, the number 6 ranked team in state, along with the number 6 seed. It's also a rematch of the Week 7 matchup where Forreston won that game 13-7 in a low-scoring affair, which was down in Forreston. Some keys for both teams I see that really haunted them in that first matchup is to limit mistakes. They both had costly turnovers. You look at the first matchup, Forreston had some turnovers that gave Lee Wynn pristine starting field position. Lena Winslow had some turnovers, one of which cost them a very likely score that could have sealed the game for them had they converted an extra point. Both defenses are very fast. I do think Forreston has been more conditioned throughout the course of the season, as we've seen all year long with Forreston. But Lee Wynn has really gotten into their own zone here the past few weeks, especially since that loss to Forreston.
Right. You look at it on paper, all the things that we've really talked about Forreston, we've pretty much, been high on them all season, really. And to think that a majority of those kids are going to be back next year just blows my mind. And for Lena Winslow, you open the season with that Week 1 loss to EPC, and then you lose to Forreston in Week 7, but that seems like forever ago to me now at this point. An unforeseen thing, not unforeseen, but something that is very critical the further you get in the playoffs. Not to take anything away from Forreston at all, but because they do have a state championship in their trophy case. One of the key things that we've spoke about Lena Winslow for a long time now has been their coaching staff. Games like these where we see real close, a mistake here, a mistake there, an adjustment here, an adjustment there. Coaching can be the difference of a semifinal appearance and going home. We've said it, and I think we will both agree that Lena Winslow has the best coaching staff in the conference, hands down. Just the adjustments made on the fly are ridiculously good.
Oh, yes.
As far as the players, Forreston knows what Lena's going to do, and Lena Winslow knows what Forreston's going to do. There's really not going to be anything that jumps out at you that's going to say, hey, we haven't seen this all year. Although it would be a good time, hey, maybe throw in a trick player or two.
Yeah, if you have to.
Right. For me, it's going to be whether Lena Winslow can cut down on mistakes. Forreston, I think, is more equipped to deal with mistakes, as I feel they have a slight advantage over Lena Winslow. If Lena Winslow plays a mistake-free game, along with their coaching, I don't know. I was talking to you earlier today. I said I don't have a clue who I want to pick in this game, but I think if Forreston does play a clean game themselves, they probably come away with a victory here, as far as I'm concerned. But there's just so much stuff to talk about. It feels like there's a lot to talk about, but on the other hand, it's like we both know what this is going to be. It's like we just want to see it already.
Yes, and looking back at the course of the year, you look at Forreston, okay? They've only thrown 33 passes on the year.
A handful, so to speak.
So, we both know that Hunter Dawes can throw the ball, but at the same time, they haven't thrown it enough. But, at the same token, Forreston ran for 272 yards against Lena Winslow the first time around. So it's not like Lena Winslow really shut Forreston down.
Right.
Did they cause them to make mistakes? Absolutely.
Right.
They forced a lot of mistakes early on in the game, but when push came to shove in the second half, when physical endurance starts playing in effect, Forreston took over that ball game and ultimately won that ball game.
Definitely going to be an interesting game Saturday. Just a lot of cool things to look out for. And so many more things we don't really have the opportunity to touch on. But what are you feeling?
Well,
feeling and picking are two different things here, and
it is. And my gut tells me one thing, my head tells me another.
Yeah.
Like you stated out, coaches play a big role in matchups this late in the season. Home field advantage plays a big role as well. But with home field advantage, Forreston has been better in Lena against Lena Winslow than they have been in Forreston against Lena Winslow. So that kind of plays
right
into that realm too. I think given a clean game, weather's supposed to be perfect on Saturday. Supposed to have a little bit of a chill Friday night, but as far as the playing surface and overall cloud skies, everything else, no precipitation. I like Forreston in this matchup.
And for me, my bracket started and ended with Forreston and Champaign being crowned the state champs. But before these brackets came out, I believe I was talking to you and Greg, who we had on a couple weeks, and I said I would not be surprised Lena Winslow was the Northern rep.
You did say that.
Home, Lena Winslow coaching staff, I'm taking the Panthers.
So where the north part of the bracket is kind of still a toss-up, we're going to the south side of the bracket where really both matchups down south look to be pretty favorable for the home team. First game is going to be number 12 seed Hardin Calhoun at number 1 Tuscola. Calhoun comes in with an 8-3 record after they beat Red Hill last week 22-0. Tuscola comes in at perfect 11-0 after they beat Carrollton 55-28. On the season, Calhoun is averaging 24 points a game while giving up 14. And Tuscola is averaging 51 points a game while giving up 13. This is the second week in a row that Tuscola will be facing a WIVC team. I don't think Tuscola is going to have much of a problem with Calhoun in this game. Calhoun is predominantly a triple option type offense. And that kind of really plays in the favor of Tuscola's defense, in my opinion.
I would agree.
Tuscola did have a hard time with Carrollton. You know, they were up 34-28 going into the third quarter before they rattled off 21 unanswered points to finish out the game against Carrollton to pull away. But really, it was their defense, energy, and stamina that they put Carrollton away. They finally wore Carrollton down to the point where they just took over in the fourth quarter.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because this is something we talked about last week with Tuscola, if you don't remember. Tuscola against Oblong was only up a score.
17-7, yeah.
A score and a half, 2 scores, whatever you want to call it. At halftime. And we said, if Tuscola doesn't start well against Carrollton, they might be in for a game, and that turned out to be the case. If Tuscola starts bad against Calhoun this game, I still like Tuscola. That's how bad this matchup is. I mean,
it is. I mean, Calhoun won the WIVC South, North. Hell, I don't know. Whichever side they were in.
Sorry.
But, yeah, Tuscola is just that much better than Calhoun. I like Tuscola in that matchup.
Yeah, me too.
Alright, so our last game of the quarterfinal round has us going to Decatur, where the St. Teresa Bulldogs will host conference opponent Warrensburg Latham. Warrensburg Latham comes in with a 7-4 record after they beat Brown County last week in an upset 43-28, while St. Teresa comes in at 10-1 after they beat Athens in a big matchup 27-26. On the year, Warrensburg Latham is averaging 38 points per game, but they're giving up 33 points per game. And St. Teresa is averaging 43 points per game while giving up 13 points per game. Similar to Forreston, Lee, and Winslow, this is also a conference rematch that St. Teresa won 56-20 in their first matchup. It is worth noting that the starting quarterback for Warrensburg Latham did not start in that game, but will be playing in this game. And apparently, between him and his twin brother, they're very fast athletes. So, Warrensburg has a really fast offense. They run a spread offense that they like to keep the ball with the quarterback, run quarterback options where they pitch out to the halfback. They throw very little out of this offense. Looking at St. Teresa's game with Athens, they were actually down in that game 26-21 in the fourth quarter. Came back to win that game. In a game a lot of people had Athens picked, including me and you. I mean, you had St. Teresa picked on your bracket originally, but you had changed your pick to Athens in our preview last week.
That's called never being wrong. You can go back, well, I had it this way. No, I had it that way.
Yeah, I mean, St. Teresa really stepped up to the plate in a physical game that they were being questioned on just going into it based off their loss to Tuscola. Warrensburg, on the other hand, they had a 21-20 lead over Brown County at the half. And after that, they never looked back as they put up 29 unanswered points before Brown County finally got on the board again. I don't know if the game will be 56-20. I think it'll be a little bit closer, but I still think St. Teresa's got the horses to get it done. Between having Jacardia right at halfback, and he's not yet 100%, but he's darn close to that. You got Fike at quarterback who can throw the ball around the field. And I think the game with Athens proved that they're ready to go. I know that their coach, Ramsey, he's here for a reason. And it definitely is not to lose in the quarterfinals to a team that he just beat by, 36 points in the regular season?
Right. And, there's really not a lot to break down with this matchup, I feel like. I'm obviously picking St. Teresa to win. But something that really sticks out to me, you said St. Teresa scores 43 points and gives up 13.
Yep.
They're also in the same conference.
Yes.
Warrensburg scores 38 points a game and gives up 33.
Correct.
Offensively, not that much difference. It's all going to be about which defense decides to show up.
I agree.
I like St. Teresa in this game. I'm not predicting another upset for Warrensburg. I just wouldn't be surprised if it's a little closer than what we think.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this game being 42-28, 42-21, somewhere in that
Looks
realm.
bad on paper, but really isn't.
Right. I think it will be a closer game this time around than the first time. But, like you, I like St. Teresa as well. So that's your quarterfinal matchup and prediction. We're really winding down. We already got our hotel room booked for Champaign. We're going to be there regardless. We're hoping one of the NUIC teams get there, obviously.
Feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, we do. But you still got to show up and play. No matter what we say and do here, you got to show up and play. We're not out there playing the game. We're just predicting them, having fun doing it. Where are you going this week, Shane?
Lena Winslow. Watch them take on the Forreston Cardinals. Should be a good one.
With that said, myself and Carrie will be at Aquin as both games are being played at 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon.
And I'm surprised we really haven't talked about that to this point. What a disservice to the community.
Well,
I feel.
I understand why, though.
I do too.
Forreston did the right thing by not pushing the envelope here regarding Lena's concerns with what they needed to do as far as their school play going on in the evening. So, good job for both schools to make that quick agreement. Unfortunately for us fans, it is a pain in the butt because you want to pick up both quarterfinal games that are within a 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive. But you got to pick one or the other. So he's going to Lena. Carrie and myself are going to Aquin. We're anticipating some good ball games. And as always, root for the NUIC.